All right, good evening. It is Tuesday, July 14th. This is the Hanson FinCom meeting. I will make a motion to open the meeting.
Second that motion.
Seconded by Michelle Wordman. All those in favor, we have to do a roll call vote, so I'll start with Mr. Dugan.
Aye.
Mr. McCormick.
Aye.
Ms. Wordman.
Aye.
And Mr. Sullivan, aye. We are officially open for business. So we will get started. I have the agenda here. It's been a fairly straightforward agenda for the past couple weeks. We have what I'll say are our final batch of end of the year transfers. So I just got those before. I wasn't going to send them out. I'm going to share them to the screen now, and you should be able to see them. All right, let's see. Okay, so here are the transfers. Can everyone see the FY 20-08 Town of Hanson transfer of appropriations fiscal year 2020?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So as you can see, there are several transfers here. I'm going to go through them, and then we can ask questions or vote. They're fairly straightforward. So transfer from the planning board clerical support, the amount of $6,133. Transfer to treasurer department head for $948. Treasurer clerical support for $1,258. Inspection building salary for $1,319. Inspection clerical support $1,951. These first four, as you can see in the explanation, are vacation buybacks that were authorized on June 30th per the Board of Selectmen. Any questions on those?
Nope.
No.
The next transfer will be to clerical support, $461. It was an extra workday that wasn't budgeted for because it was a leap year. Town accountant Todd had talked to us about that last meeting. So that's the final one on that. Next are selectmen expenses for $40. These were advertising expenses incurred by the selectmen that weren't accounted for in the previous, weren't appropriated for in the budget, for a total of $40. And then finally, the assessor's expenses, $156 for additional mapping services. Any questions on these end of the final batch of end of the year transfers?
Nope.
No.
No.
Nope.
All right. Seeing there are none, I will make a motion to accept the year transfers as printed.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dugan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Wordman. I will do a roll call vote. Mr. Dugan,
Aye.
Mr. McCormick,
Aye.
Ms. Wordman,
Aye.
Ms. Wright,
Aye. Aye. Can you hear me?
Mr. Sullivan, aye. Approved. Yep, we hear you, Amy. Approved 5-0. Thank you very much. And that will take care of our end of the year transfers. All right. So now we're going to, we can take them either way, in either order you'd like. We have, I propose that we go to the special town meeting and take a look at those. So I will pull up special town meeting. Okay, can everyone see that? Is it too zoomed out? Probably.
No, it's good. I got my copy up anyway.
Okay.
That's better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, where'd it go? Sorry, it just went away. All right, sorry, give me a second here. This is killing me. All right, so we will let's go through them while it tries to get pulled up. I sent them all to you, so you should have the warrant. What I'd like to do is, if we go, we'll read through them all, or actually, I think what we'll do, what was in previous years, we went down the list, and if we all agree to it, we'll go down the list. If there's one that we want to hold, we'll hold and go back and talk about it. And then we can vote on a complete slate if that works for everyone.
Well, for purposes of roll call voting, that'll probably work the easiest.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still trying to get this to open on my screen here. It's not cooperating. All right. How's that? Can we see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
July 2020 special town meeting, Article 1. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $1,296.50 from free cash I'm sorry. So I said I wasn't going to read the entire article. Does anyone need me to read the entire article? Say
No.
Article 1.
No.
All right.
No.
Article 2. Article
No.
3.
No.
Article 4. Article 5. Article 6. Article 7.
No.
That is all of the articles. Is there any further discussion on the July 2020 special town meeting?
All good here.
None? I will entertain a motion to recommend Articles 1 through 7 as printed.
Second.
That was that Mr. McCormick with the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I second that.
Seconded by Mrs. Werdeman. And we will do a roll call vote. Mr. Dugan,
Aye.
Mr. McCormick,
Aye.
Mrs. Werdeman,
Aye.
Mrs. Wright,
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan, aye. We all are voting to recommend all articles as printed. All right, that takes care of the July 2020 special town meeting. All right, I'd like to. We'll move on to the annual town meeting now.
Sure.
Sorry, 1 second. We'll get that going. Okay. All right. Does everyone have the? I sent it out earlier. There was some confusion, I think, as to which one was received. Let's see. I apologize. This computer is struggling significantly. All right. Does everyone have the annual town meeting that I sent? It should have today's date on it. It also has on the second page at the very bottom, there's a block where the town accountant did a reconciliation of all of it.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'll read what I can.
And Mike,
Oh, I hit it for 8.
what's that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Then I think what we'll do is we'll go through. I'm having trouble bringing it up on this computer for some reason. I have it on the computer next to me. We'll go through it line by line. I'll read out off the Excel spreadsheet the article, the funding source, and then the dollar amount. And then we'll go down the list. And if there's one you want to discuss further, we'll say hold and we'll go back and we'll go back to it. Okay.
Yep.
Article 1, from the Board of Selectmen, accept the town report. No funding. Article 2, treasurer, compensating balances. No funding. Article 3, treasurer, tax title account, $20,000 from overlay. Article 4, Board of Selectmen, set elected salaries. Doesn't has a specific printed in the warrant. It says Article 4. To see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all paid and elected officers and committees of the town as follows, or take any other action thereto. I'd like to come back and discuss 4, if everyone's okay with that. So I'm going to put a hold on that myself. Article 5, the amendment to the regional school district. I'll put a hold on that. We'll come back and talk to it. Board of Selectmen, the budget, 28 million. We'll put a hold on that, and we'll go through line by line on the general budget. Recreation.
Yeah, just to clarify my questions from earlier today, Kevin.
Absolutely, Mike. I got that email with those questions. Board of Selectmen. Board of Health. The budget for the enterprise fund for the transfer station. We'll put a hold on that too. CPC. Article 9, CPC annual budget, $100,000. Article 10, capital improvement, approved matrix. I'm going to put a hold on that. Article 11, capital improvement, town and water capital projects. I'll also put a hold on that. Article 12, school committee, high school capital projects. $14,000 from free cash. Article 13, CPC historic markers, $7,000 CPC funds. Article 14, Chapter 90, no funding. Article 15, Board of Selectmen revolving accounts. Article 16, the assessors accept the Brave Act exemptions. Article 17, Green Hanson Energy aggregation. I'm going to hold that one. So we can discuss. Article 18, Highway Director bylaw amendments. Article 19, from the Board of Selectmen, wage and personnel sick leave bylaw amendment. Article 20, town clerk change bylaws amendment. Article 21, Board of Selectmen town meeting bylaw amendment. Article 22 from the Board of Selectmen, revise the Town Administrator Act.
Well, put a hold on that. I gotta know what that is.
Okay, hold on 22. And then Article 23, the Regional School Assessment Home Rule Petition.
Yeah.
Put a hold on.
That one too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so right now, so that we're going to go back and discuss 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 17, 22, and 23. So we'll start at Article 4, the annual town meeting is the setting of the elected salaries. So there's some question that our current financial situation. If we look at a lot of the departments, we're all taking we're basically level funding the salary that was non-contractual. This does provide an increase in pay for the elected officials. So it's one we have to look at and vote and see if we want to continue with it, because it actually has to be voted in an article, unlike the other department head salaries. So I just wanted to bring it up. So when we when we appropriate that money, that will give the town clerk and the tree warden an increase in salary.
Is that the only two?
Yes, elected.
Is it 2%?
It is 2.5, I believe, was my calculation.
I'm okay with it. I don't have an issue with it. I'd make a motion to accept it.
A motion has been made to recommend Article 4. Any discussion?
I second.
Yeah, I actually got about 3%.
3%, yeah.
For town clerk. I guess my only quick question on the discussion are other department heads contractual based, like on a 3-year contract that calls for specifics as opposed to, because this seems to me to be something that we look at every annual town meeting for these two specific positions. So
Right.
in one sense, I hear what you're saying about if others are level funding, should these be the same? I hear the overall point, but I think there's a little bit of a discrepancy between having those being decided by a town vote as opposed to specifics in a contract.
Right. And that's what these are non-contractual, so they are voted. And I believe, they're the only two elected officials. So we have to vote that. So there's a motion been made to recommend.
So when was the last time they got an increase? Do we know? Did they get a 3% raise last year too? I'm just curious.
Let me check the budget from last year. The salaries are put in let me see, one. Yeah, I mean, they all, I believe, got a standard 2.5 last year, as I recall. I don't have it written down anywhere, but
I think those two just have to be voted every year because they're elected.
They do.
They don't they're not on the wage and personnel and or contractual.
That's correct.
And just looking at it quickly, it looked like it was 3% town clerk, but only 2% for tree warden.
Right. Any further discussion? Motion's been made and seconded.
Well,
Seeing none. Mr. Dugan?
Aye.
Mr. McCormick?
All right.
Ms. Wordman?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mrs. Sullivan? Aye. Recommend 5-0. All right. Article 5. Article 5 is the the amended Whitman-Hanson Regional School District. And the Board of Selectmen has not yet voted it. I'm not sure if they're going to pass over this or not. I know there was some discussion where we didn't get the override approved. But on the sheet I have from the town administrator, they have not yet voted it.
Well, there's nothing here to vote on. They didn't give us the language anyway.
You mean from the warrant? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean the signed warrant has it, but I think what they're planning on doing is they're planning on passing on it.
Here's my 2 cents. I don't want to have somebody go up to the microphone and say, did finance think that this was a good idea to either render a decision of recommend or not recommend while the Board of Selectmen didn't have that. I think I would want to avoid having that be put on the spot to answer something that would make us look silly one way or the other.
Well, I mean, that's one way to go. I'm not sure that they're not going to vote this next week at their meeting. So there still could be, it's still on there. It hasn't been withdrawn. So this could be one of those game time town meeting decisions. At the same time, I would it is something that could, that would have a financial aspect on the town. I don't know if we're going to have another chance to go back through this before town meeting. Based on the schedules next week, I don't know if we'll get the Board of Selectmen opinion on this beforehand. So, my thought was to vote to not recommend Article 5. Just because we're going back, the budget we're going back to the school committee doesn't fit in this proposal anyway. So, that was my sort of thought, was to come out and not recommend Article 5, since we're going back with a completely different budget anyway. Those are my thoughts. I don't know how everyone else felt on it.
Well, I don't want to vote on something where I don't even know what we're voting on. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no language in the article to really be able to make an informed decision.
Well, if you go to, sorry, let me see.
The explanation says the article, if approved, will the amendment's wording will be distributed before town meeting.
Right.
So
Is this a money thing, or is this the actual amendment that was rewritten by that company that we're voting on? Because if it's the amendment written by the company that did all the work, I'm a big no, because the amendment has not one benefit to the town of Hanson. If it's a financial thing, then I would vote no, as you said, Kevin, just to come back to it at town meeting if we had to, if someone else, recommended it or come up with some, a number. But if it's for the agreement that they rewrote, I hate it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And to me, that's why I was, I'm voting not to change the agreement. It's my recommendation that we go forward with what we have, and we continue down the path that we've decided. So that's where I was sitting at the. I'll go either way. Obviously whatever we vote is how we'll go. But we're going to give them a number. The school committee is going to get a number, and it's a different number than they requested. It's one that works to provide a balanced budget for the town right now.
Mhm.
And then, we're going to march forward with different options to see where we go from here. So,
yeah, I'm okay with your recommendation. I'll second your recommendation, Kevin.
okay. So do you want to make the motion, Ken?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we vote not to recommend Article 5 as written at this time.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Second by Mrs. Werdeman.
I don't like this.
So for discussion purposes, just sorry to sound like the person who's not getting it. So this is the amended version of this, not necessarily what we think we can afford, and those two things are going to be in conflict.
Correct. This is the amended agreement.
So this is basically the 50-50 this year and the whole
Right.
whole bill next year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So a motion has been made and seconded. Unless there's any further discussion, we'll move to the vote. Mr. Dugan?
With the motion is to not recommend, voting aye.
Mr. McCormick?
Aye on not recommending.
Ms. Werdeman?
Aye, not recommending.
Ms. Wright?
I not recommending.
And Mr. Sullivan? Aye. So Article 5 is not recommended. 5-0. All right, I'm going to pass over Article 6 right now because Article 6 is the total budget. We'll go take a look at the budget line by line, and then we'll come back to that one. We'll move on to Article 7, the budget for the enterprise fund.
Mhm.
Article 7 is open for discussion. Mr. Dugan, you had some questions regarding Article 7.
Yeah, I mean, my question was, in the most recent copy of the warrant, It's listed as program receipts of 200,500, taxation of 103,500 for total budget of 304,000. And the spreadsheet has funding sources of 87,000 for taxation. The sources and uses has 87,000 for taxation. And Todd's reconciliation for an overall budget has 229,000. So do we have typos on the warrant, or
So what you've got to remember is that warrant was printed and signed July 9th. So there has been some movement on it. So the number for the recreation department right now is $229,000, $87,000 of which will come from free cash, and $142,000 that will come from program receipts.
So no taxation.
That's correct.
Does that get them through the whole year?
It gets
No,
that
$87,000 subsidy that's coming from taxation.
that was the original discussion. What has happened is, if you look on that sources and uses, Mike,
Let me pull it up.
or even if you pull up the general fund budget,
All right, I got the sources and uses.
so the sources and uses, and if you go to we'll say the general fund budget Excel spreadsheet that I sent, they switched it. It's going to come from free cash and no longer taxation. So that $87,000 will come from free cash, and the 142 will come from recreation program revenue, the receipts.
I see. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know. It's confusing because you're right. In the warrant, it originally said taxation.
Mm-hmm.
So what the town accountant has made some recommendations that basically, a lot of non-essential items, we hold off on doing executing those with free cash until October at the special town meeting, and to where the budget is so constricted, to use free cash for both recreation and solid waste. So if you look,
kind of backdoored the taxation with free cash is what we've kind of done.
correct.
It was going to come out of taxation originally, and we're just free cash because we're not doing any capital projects per se.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So now if you look, so that this is Article 7 specifically has been reduced to 229,000, and again, this may be another one we have to look at again in October to see where we are. Camp Kiwanee is still closed, as far as I know. So the revenue is down, but again, their expenses are down as well because it isn't open. So, did that clear it up, Mike? I know it was.
No, it was ultimately at the end of the day, I thought one thing was a typo or misprint. It was a matter of trying to figure out which side it was on, because here I am thinking that if we were saying it was 103,000 and change, and the sources and uses was 87. Are we going to end up at the end of the day with a $15,000-$20,000, oops that we didn't count on, and
Right.
have to try to fix it on town meeting floor?
Right.
I mean,
almost
I think we're gonna,
guaranteed.
I think we're gonna end up looking at this in October anyway. I think it's. I don't know whether I buy these numbers for either enterprise fund and more so for solid waste, with there's a little bit more validity behind their expense numbers. So
Agreed.
Is there a reason that the board has, the selectmen haven't voted on it yet? Did they give you that?
That I don't know. That I don't know. So
We're going to have to come back to it. 229,000 just isn't going to cut the mustard. But
Here's one other follow-up question. This may come in October. Is kind of our entire thought process of not wanting to use free cash to help balance the budget. This is going to be the case either in October or a year from now, where, how do you then figure out how you're going to plug the missing number? And we're going to end up with this same issue if we're also trying to plug a higher school number based on being on the hook for a full statutory bill.
right.
So I think this thing is going to rear its ugly head one way or the other, as to we use free cash to theoretically plug a budget, and either October or a year from now, that's going to become a number we're going to have to try and find how that's going to work.
Right. So, and I can tell you sort of the thinking behind it was, if you go to the sources and uses, it was really that if you look at the new growth, new growth FY 2020 was $326,000. New growth this year is 190. So there was a significant reduction there. And then if you go again down to where was it? Sorry. The reduction in the governor's budget. So there was some significant, the anticipated impact of state revenue shortfall. So because of COVID, both new growth and the cherry sheet receipts are down. So if you look at the cherry sheet receipts, they're down about 200,000. So the concern from the town, accountant was that we're down, if we do some round numbers, you're down 400 and change in revenue. So those, cutting out all the non-essentials and using free cash for these two enterprise funds until October was sort of the shortfall to plug that gap. So I think we've all been there, and we all aren't necessarily don't agree with this going forward, but I think the whole COVID situation has hit us in our wallets across the state. So even the state revenue is down, new growth is down. This is sort of the temporary solution to get us to October.
Yeah, it's a Band-Aid.
Absolutely. It's a Band-Aid.
Does that number get us through October or past October?
It gets us past the entire budget for recreation was $304,000. So we're shortchanging them about $80,000. So you figure this should take us, we're already halfway through the summer.
Yep.
The majority of their revenue the majority of the revenue and expenses, I believe, both occur over the summertime. So, the longer the camp is closed, the safer we are with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Okay. That is Article 6. Any further questions? I'm sorry. That is Article 7. Further discussion on Article 7.
No.
I am good now. Thanks.
All right. I will entertain a motion on Article 7.
You want to do that one, or you want to go back to these?
I figure we could just get it done as we go here.
Yep.
Article 7 is recreation still.
I'll make a motion as to accept as Article 7 as printed.
I think I would want to amend that motion because the as printed warrant isn't accurate.
It's not you.
Right. So,
I'll make a motion to accept Article 7 as printed on the July 20th annual town meeting. What sheet are we using?
So here's what we'll do. if you can just, we'll say for the total dollar amount, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
I'll make a motion to accept Article 7 for $229,000.
Proposed budget for fiscal 21 of 229,000.
Second that.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Dugan,
Aye.
Mr. McCormick,
All right.
Ms. Wordman,
Hi.
Ms. Wright,
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan, aye. Article is recommended 5-0. Article 8, Board of Health budget for the Enterprise Fund in the amount of $173,024, $176,000 from free cash, and $197,024 from program revenue. Discussion.
Really the same as 7. Just a larger number, right?
I'm sorry?
I said we're really looking at the same thing as number 7, just a larger number. And
Yeah.
We're not happy with either 7 or 8 ever.
Right.
But if we did 7, I think we probably have to do 8 unless, Mike has something.
No, I just wanted to point out is it looks like the budget as listed on Todd's reconciliation and here and what's in the warrant, total dollars match. It's just that it's the same thing as to pulling it from free cash as opposed to taxation. I just would want to ask Kevin if you're aware of their program receipts of 197. Todd's good with that number, or my concern with transfer station is more of escalating costs of the recycling, and I think that's really what's driven the whole issue for them. That's been more of a cost for them than anything, and I don't know if we've got a contract on the recycling or if that's going to be potentially a moving number. And are we, again, like recreation, looking at this again in October? Overall, much to the same points we just discussed. I'm on board with it. It's a bigger number, it's a bigger expense, but it's a more valid expense. But is there any volatility to that number? Is my only cause for concern.
So the last when I spoke to the town accountant, he was confident in these numbers for Article 8. And he's recommending that we fund it for the full amount from the budget. So we're not funding it at a reduced level. We're funding it for what should be a full year. So even any sort of increase, any sort of contractual change or increase in hauling fees that happen over the next 6 months, we could readdress in October. But he is confident with those numbers that I read off just there.
Has that ever been, I don't go, so has it ever been closed or is it open currently?
That I don't know. I don't use the transfer station. We had some discussions last budget cycle with the
Reduced hours, days, all that stuff.
yes, we had some discussions with the Board of Health about reduced hours, reduced everything. And I believe last time at town meeting, they voted for the full amount and to keep it open. It's same hours. So
Yeah, I just didn't know if COVID had closed it.
No, it's.
I don't think so.
My father's there every Saturday, and it's
All right, so there's
open. He goes and drops it off.
There'll be no cost savings potentially because it's been open the whole time. If they were closed, you might have a little bit, but it is what it is, really.
No. But I just, based on Kevin's point, it made me think that if we are setting it for a full year, any other cost increases, like recycling goes to $80 a ton instead of 65 that it is now, then there's your cause of, hey, you got to manage the expenses, and maybe that prompts the schedule adjustments.
I would think people would be using it more now that they've been home and eating, like more meals at home, like just not really going out.
Well, I know our recycling center in Pembroke's been closed. It just recently opened, so they had some savings.
Yeah.
Because they weren't open. I just didn't know if that's where we were, but if they've been open all the time, then business as usual, I guess. I guess I'll make a motion to accept Article 8 for the amount of $373,024 as printed on the July 2020 annual town meeting.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to recommend Article 8 to the amount of $373,000, $373,024, using $176,000 of free cash, $197,024 from program revenues. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Dugan?
Aye.
Mr. McCormick? Ms. Werdeman?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan? Aye. Article 8 is recommended 5-0. Brings us to Article 10, Capital Improvement Matrix. To see if the town will vote to adopt the capital improvement program as presented by the Capital Improvement Committee or take any other action in relation thereto.
Have we seen the capital improvement matrix?
I have not.
Probably don't have.
I have not been provided a capital improvement matrix, and I have no further comment on it.
Well, I don't like voting on something that I can't see.
Well, it's going to have a $10 million building on it somewhere.
Yeah.
So in the past, what we have done is when a matrix is not presented to us, we have voted to not recommend it because we don't know what's on it.
I vote to not recommend Article 10.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to not recommend Article 10, Capital Improvement Matrix. Mr. Dugan?
I support that. It's in terms of voting. We don't have anything in front of us to consider, much less the argument of the piece of paper or the dollars on it.
Mr. McCormick?
Aye, not to recommend.
Ms. Werdeman?
Aye, not to recommend.
Ms. Wright?
Aye. Not to recommend.
And Mr. Sullivan, aye. Vote to not recommend 5-0. Article 11. To see if the town will vote to appropriate and or transfer from available funds to various department capital accounts for the following items or take any other action there in relation to. So on this, if you all have the matrix available, there are several items. We can go one by one and discuss them. There's also, so we'll start there. If everyone can take a look at the matrix, there are 6 items on it for a total of $300,000. And then we'll go down when everyone's had a chance to look at it briefly. We'll go down and either hold or move on, and then we can approve the whole thing as one article. Or we can approve them. We can make our individual recommendations on the one or for the total. as we see fit. So line 1 is the Indian Head and Middle School roof repairs for $50,000. And again, if you want to discuss it further, just say hold and we'll come back around. Line 2, the Highway Department, the hydraulic chipper for $50,000 from free cash. Line 3, Highway Communications upgrade, $45,000 free cash. Article 4, recreation, ventilation in the kitchen, hood, and electrical work. Free cash, $35,000. Recreation, lodge wiring, $50,000. Free cash. Line 6, water, utility truck, $70,000. Water surplus. Discussion on any of the 6 items.
Where are the repairs at the Indian Head and Middle School for the roof? Do we know?
Where specifically on the roof?
Yeah.
That I do not know.
Indian Head just have a brand new roof put on it?
Apparently not.
And to be fair, to answer your question, Amy, I don't know whether or not it was the entire roof or just that middle section with that. I don't know what you call that bump out piece, but I don't necessarily know whether it was the entire roof or not.
I don't know. I mean, there's no like real explanation.
Yeah, I don't have I don't have an exact location of what roofs are being done. I know they're asking for repairs of the roofs of both the Indian Head and the middle school.
Like, can we get a little more information about?
So in theory, this could be $5,000 for Indian Head and $45,000 for the middle school.
For middle school, like
That's correct.
A better breakdown of that.
Okay. Just a reminder, we have to have our recommendations in by the end of this week to have them printed in the warrant. I'm sorry, printed for town meeting. So that I can definitely go back and get more information. And it's very easy not, just to let it go, but we would have to meet again before then to reopen and revote these. So
Okay.
that's just a reminder.
Bentley, don't do that. No.
Line item 2. Item 3.
Just on 3, the only thing, I think we talked about this previously, so this isn't new. But is this just radios, or is this like a whole thing? Like, this is tying them into police and fire, right?
So what I'm also told is that this ties them in police, fire into the new Rock Communications. I don't know if I'm turn there, Ken, but that's what I was told before.
Too, right? I think.
It's correct. They want to be able to, from Duxbury, they want to be able to communicate with highway trucks and DPW during winter storms and the ACO, the dog officer and stuff. So they have to tie that into their system. So that's probably what that's for.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions about the remaining items?
None for me.
No.
I'm good.
I'll entertain a motion.
I would say before you do that, Amy, what do you want to do on this? Does it matter to you whether it's 10,000 one spot, 30,000 the other, or
I just really want a better explanation of what, where the repairs are, especially for Indian Head.
Okay, so I mean, I can definitely get that information for you, but I guess my question is, does it matter one way or the other? I mean, they've said that the roof repair, you know what I mean? At some point, it's someone has taken a look at the roof and said it needed repairs. I can definitely get that detailed information for you. And if you want to hold it, that's fine.
I don't know if you need to hold it. I really like more information on item 1. Benny. So you guys can vote however you want. I don't want to vote on number 1 until I have more information.
Okay. So is there a motion out there on Article 11?
Here's my 2 cents, Kevin. Are you better off? Because I think you're going to get a little different vote here of having 1 for each. And I kind of gauging the panel as to have a vote for item 1, and then I bet you probably can get away with 2 through whatever it is, 7 in 1 vote, and have it be two particular votes.
Okay, so you want to vote them line by line?
I would make a motion just in reference to line item 1 to recommend as written, and I would have a second motion to approve as written the remaining line items.
Yeah, I'll second Mike's motion. I mean, I don't know that it matters that we vote 4 to 1.
I don't think it. I don't think it. I mean, whatever we decide. So, Mike, you're making a recommendation to recommend items 2 through 6.
And 2 separate motions. First motion, recommend item 1. Second motion to recommend the aggregate items 2 through 6.
So I guess I'm confused. You said recommend line item 1?
Yes. Well, I guess what I'm trying to do here is give Amy her voice. She's not comfortable with item 1. And I think it speaks to that. But if we want to do the article as a whole, you tell me. It's
basically you're recommending 1 and the rest of them, but if we vote on them separately, it allows Amy to not recommend 1.
Correct.
If she wants to.
And having said all of that, Amy, am I putting words in your mouth?
You are not.
So I second your recommendation for 1, and I second the recommendation for 2 through 6.
But I guess I'm confused by the language, Mike, because you said you recommend you're motioning to recommend Article 1. And
so Kevin, basically calling it 2 different votes, so Amy can say no, she doesn't recommend 1 if she wants to, but she can recommend the rest of them.
Okay, so that's what I said. We'll go line by line then, because
Correct.
What we'll do is just, Mike, if you can withdraw your motion, we'll go 1 by 1 and do it that way. Okay?
Okay. Then I withdraw both motions that were made previously.
Sorry, I'm just trying to clean it up so that this is all okay. So we'll go 1 by 1 through Article 11, and I'll entertain a motion for Article 11, line 1.
I'll recommend.
Motion's been made to recommend Article 11, Line 1, Indian Head and Middle School roofs for $50,000. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of recommending Article 11, Line 1, Mr. Dugan,
Aye.
Mr. McCormick,
Aye.
Ms. Wordman,
Aye.
Ms. Wright,
No.
Mr. Sullivan, aye. Recommend 4-1.
I'll make a motion to accept Article 2 through 6 and Article 11 on the warrant as printed.
I'll second your recommendation.
A motion's been made and seconded to recommend Article 11, lines 2 through 6 as printed in the warrant. Move to vote. Mr. Dugan,
Aye.
Mr. McCormick,
Aye.
Ms. Werdeman,
Aye.
Ms. Wright,
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan, aye. Recommended 5-0. Okay, that takes care of Article 11. We will move on to Article. Let's see, what was the next one we held?
Yeah,
We did not hold 12 or 13.
I think the next one is 17, then 22 and 23.
Okay, 17. 17. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen on terms and conditions they determine to be most beneficial to the town to enter into a community choice aggregation program and contract for electric supply for Hanson residents and or businesses, and to execute and enter into any and all documents necessary to effectuate the same as per Mass General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 134, or take any other action in relation thereto. The purpose of this article is to allow the town to buy electricity in bulk. Community choice aggregation is a process by which municipalities can combine and switch electricity used by households and small businesses to cleaner energy. The Energy Committee will advise the Board of Selectmen and work in conjunction with an energy broker to purchase the energy the town needs. Residents and businesses can opt out of the program at any time. The electricity purchase will still be billed through National Grid.
So have they not gotten back to the Board of Selectmen? Because they didn't seem to vote on it.
The Board of Selectmen have not voted on it.
So I assume the committee didn't get back to them?
That I can't say one way or the other. I don't know, to be honest. I will tell you that I am not inclined to recommend this because I don't really know what kind of contractual obligations this pulls us into. In my opinion,
The energy broker. Like,
in my opinion, this is the same thing when they came in and sold us the deal on the transfer station. That outside company came in and they were going to broker it and it was going to be beneficial. I just don't have enough information. No one's come to explain it. I personally am inclined to not recommend Article 17, but the floor is open for further discussion.
Yeah,
I agree. There's enough information here. I don't think there's enough information here to make a what's the word I'm looking for? A vote that an educated vote. How about that?
Yeah. I think conceptually it sounds interesting, but I think what needs to be put here is, an current average bill under National Grid is X. Under this proposal, here's the contractual issues for the town, and here's what potential savings would be for a household. Because what happens if it goes the other way? Or what, to Kevin's point, is there floor, a cap, any of that information? So I'm, like I said, conceptually it sounds appealing, but not enough information at this time.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm all for green energy, but if the committee for green energy hasn't been back to the selectmen yet to put it on the warrant, then I don't think we should be voting on it either. So I'd make a motion to not recommend Article 17.
I second that.
Motion has been made and seconded, made by Mr. McCormick, seconded by Mrs. Wordman, not to recommend Article 17. We'll vote by roll call. Mr. Dugan,
Aye, not to recommend.
Mr. McCormick,
Aye, not to recommend.
Ms. Wordman,
Aye, not to recommend.
Ms. Wright,
I not to recommend.
Mr. Sullivan, aye. The article is not recommended. 5-0. All right. That brings us to Article 22. Article 22 was to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court to amend Chapter 41 of the Acts of 2006, an act establishing a town administrator in the town of Hanson as follows. And if you look in your printed warrant that I sent you, there are several amendments and changes. The explanation is, I won't go through and read them all. You can read them all in the warrant that I provided you. The explanation is this amendment provides appointment power to a single appointing authority, the Board of Selectmen, to streamline appointments and professionalize offices as is more consistent with employment practice around the state. This amendment modernizes the process, requires a majority vote.
So is it just, I don't have it, I didn't pull it out. Is it committee appointment type of a things, or is it police chiefs, fire chiefs?
It is,
Camp Kawani caretaker, conservation agent,
Okay,
inspector of animals, planner, health agent.
Okay, that's fine.
it takes them from their respective boards to the Board of Selectmen to appoint.
So like the board of Camp Kawani is not going to have the authority to hire the Camp Kawani caretaker? Is that how I'm reading this? It'll be the Board of Selectmen?
Right. Further discussion?
Do you have any back information as to why they're taking the
Town administrator's power away?
I don't know. I know that a lot of
or is it the boards?
I'm sorry?
Is it the town administrator or is it the boards?
That what?
That won't have the power to hire these people into the town.
It shifts.
It switches it from the boards to Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
So like the Board of Health now will not be hiring the animal inspector.
No, I mean, no, this specifically says health agent. So it from the explanation, it gives the Board of Selectmen the ability to streamline appointments.
Right. Which were previously, the appointments were previously with the board, like
So for
recreation.
example, the caretaker at Camp Kawani was appointed by the commission, but now would be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. I see it, 6 one way, half dozen the other. The extent of, I think there's issues on both sides of the fence as to how is the Board of Selectmen supposed to know the specifics of each department, that why that person would be a better fit than somebody else? To me, that should be more with the boards that are working with them on a day-to-day basis. But I can kind of see a little bit of where this is coming from ultimately, if they're all bubbling into the town administrator and theoretically the board of selectmen, then probably they're the ones having a say over it. So somebody else makes a better argument, I'd love to hear it.
I don't know why we're calling it a revise of the Town Administrators Act, or it has nothing to do with the town administrator. You would think that they would be stripping him of his power in the Board of Selectmen when they'd be making the decisions instead of the town administrator making those decisions on his own. And I'm with Amy. I would leave it to the boards to hire their own people instead of the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm reading this wrong, I just maybe there's more detail we don't know.
I mean, if they wanted to take it and make the town administrator the hiring authority, I would be okay with that. For the board to take it from board members and then take it upon themselves to do the hiring, I'm not a big fan of.
I believe this allows the Board of Selectmen to delegate, because they can delegate their authority to the town administrator. But I don't know if the way I understand it, if the individual boards cannot designate their authority to the town administrator, because the town administrator works for the selectmen.
Mm-hmm.
In order for authorization to be passed to the town administrator, it has to be through the Board of Selectmen has to be the appointing authority.
Okay, so they didn't take any of the town administrator's authority away. They took it away from the boards, and they're going to be able to delegate that to the administrator if necessary.
Yes,
That's
because
how I understand it.
What's the point of having any of these boards if this is what they're going to do? I mean, I don't.
if you read section 6, section 3, subchapter 16, it says administrative and clerical employees in the offices and departments under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen, Recreation, Conservation Commission, Board of Assessors, Board of Health, Library Trustees, and Town Administrator.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gotta tell you, I don't know how.
At 14, it's the health agent is going from the Board of Health to the Board of Selectmen. The planner is going from the planning board to the Board of Selectmen. The inspector of animals is going from the Board of Health to the Board of Selectmen. Conservation agent's going from the Conservation Commission to the Board of Selectmen.
I mean, in some ways, it allows the town to fill those positions quicker, because you can, it streamlined. Again, I understand both sides of the coin.
Because we didn't get enough info to even talk to board members and see how they felt about it. Is this something getting jammed down their throat?
I don't know how I feel about this.
Or are they on board with it to make, like you said, Kevin, to make that process quicker because they may not be able to do it? I don't have enough info on it to strip a board of their power to hire their people.
I agree. I agree.
And just to play devil's advocate to Ken's point, if the board is going to want to hire somebody and maybe it's at a range that needs some sort of budgetary change, still need to go back to the Board of Selectmen and work with the town administrator to be able to have that approved. So is this eliminating the middleman?
Well, I don't think we can just assume the answer to that question, though. I think we need more information.
I gotta go with you, Amy. I kind of agree with you. I don't know how I would feel. I wouldn't want someone to come and take my thing away without, having a firm grasp at why it's being done and what the benefits to it were. And I don't know that.
Yeah.
Someone will entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion I'll make a motion not to recommend Article 22.
Second.
Motion has been made and not to recommend Article 22. Roll call vote, Mr. Dugan.
I can see both sides of this, but for a specific vote, I would vote nay.
Mr. McCormick.
No, not to recommend.
So,
Oh, I don't recommend. Aye. So I'm sorry.
okay. Ms. Werdeman.
Aye, not to recommend.
Ms. Wright.
Aye, not to recommend.
And Mr. Sullivan, nay. The recommend is to not recommend by a vote of 3-2. And finally, Article 23. Article 23 is proposed by the Board of Selectmen. It is the Regional School Assessment Home Rule Petition. It is printed in the warrant. It is quite lengthy. I will allow, I hope everyone's had time to read through it. I will read the explanation. The current Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Agreement calls for the apportionment of costs by per pupil alternative method. This article would direct the town to submit to the town's representative in the Mass General Court a home rule petition to allow the town to continue the use of the alternative method of cost assessment in the future.
That's a no-brainer. I'll vote to recommend Article 23 as printed in the warrant.
A motion has been made to recommend Article 23. Is there a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Mrs. Word. Discussion.
For points of discussion, as this is the way I read this, though, you're talking about petitioning for the town of Hanson to vote on to petition the court or petition the state for this alternative method in a regional school district. So is this enforceable for Whitman as well? I mean, that's the only part of this I have a little bit of a hiccup to.
So, I mean, this is the method by which our representatives go before the court and say, here's Hanson, this is what we can do. This is, I don't want to say it forces the other half of it in. It doesn't mean this is the mechanism by which it goes. I mean, yes, in a 50-50 marriage like this, I think you're saying, yeah, if we're going to pay per pupil, it sort of forces them. So this is the method by which we petition the general court.
I think if we don't do it, we're going to be forced to do the statutory method. So we have to have at least another thing on the record putting us back to the, alternative.
And again, I don't disagree with any of these points being made. I think that my only hiccup to this, like I said, is this posturing of just saying, hey, this is what we want to do. We feel like we still have the last remedy. And at the end of the day, is anything really going to come of it?
I don't think it matters if anything comes of it or not. I think we have to, as for me anyway, as part of the finance committee, knowing what's best for the town, we have to try and do everything that we can to, keep our costs where they were and fairly.
I agree, and I think 22 puts us in a position not only to challenge the state or the court for the alternative method, but to also then sue maybe the DOR, or at least take them to court or to have them do another analysis of both towns' finances to see who's wealthier. It challenges us to, or allows us to challenge the 6-4, membership on the board, the school committee board. So if we don't do this, I don't think we can do any of the other things. I think this is what this allows us to do. If I read the committee correctly that I was on for about 2.5 minutes.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we will move to a vote. A motion has been made and seconded to recommend Article 23 as printed in the warrant. Mr. Dugan.
Aye.
Mr. McCormick.
Aye.
Ms. Wordman.
Aye.
Ms. Wright.
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan. Aye. The article is recommended 5-0. That will bring us back to Article 6, which is the general fund budget. I would direct everyone's attention to the operating budget that I sent out. And I will open the general fund fiscal year 2021 budget open for discussion. What I can do is I will go down line by line. We can have a general discussion to start when everyone's satisfied, or we can go line by line just like we would. And I will tell you that the recommendations provided in the town administrator, those have been recommended by the town administrator and the town accountant, and they provide us with a balanced budget at these levels.
My opinion is I don't necessarily think we need line by line. We have looked at this before, and I think we're really talking about maybe 6 lines that have been impacted.
Sure.
And we've kind of been looking at these numbers for a while. So speaking for me, I don't necessarily need to go line by line as much as a general recap of the handful of lines that had been previously adjusted, and if those are basically still intact, or if other items were adjusted upon additional review from last time we've looked at it.
Okay.
I agree with Mike.
Agree.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So, Mr. Dugan, was there a specific section you wanted to review?
No, I mean, it's just being consistent with prior discussion, where the first thing that really pops is the communications expenses is consistent with what we've had before. The tree warden expenses was consistent from prior. School number is basically what we can do to present a balanced budget. And I think there were how many more of these am I missing?
The fuel, I think he brought down.
Risk management was like $6,000, and fuel.
Fuel, yeah.
And I'm trying to put my finger on it. I'm not getting to it right away. Snow and ice. Oh, there it is. 962.
Yeah.
If you have a line there, if you call it out, that would.
Yeah, line 62, we're down 25,000 to 300,000, but I still think that's a reasonable number to satisfy DOR requirements. It's I know we can manipulate that number with deficit spending, but I think if we had said that, if we tried to get that down to like 100,000, I think we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same as last year, so we just aren't really increasing it.
Yeah.
We're just level funding it.
So those were kind of the main drivers of the budget in terms of things that I saw that were adjusted. Kevin, I'll defer to you if there's any that I missed, but I think everything else was fairly consistent from previous review.
Sure. And I guess so that's a good highlight, Mike. What I will say is obviously line item 54, the Whitman Hanson Regional Operating Assessment is the one in the most question, I'll say, going forward. The number we're going to present at town meeting is $10,414,177. It's $800,000 less what the department request was of 11.2. So we will present this at town meeting. Again, this budget is a balanced budget. This is a balanced budget, level funded departments, minimized raises, unless they were contractual, and this retains all the positions we currently have in town right now.
Did you ever get and just curiosity, if you could, a savings of money returned from the school for the 4.5 months they were closed during 20?
I have not received any data to that effect.
Is that something we can get?
I can definitely ask the question as we move forward.
Not that I'm looking to put that anywhere else. I would just like to know what that savings was in case this happens again, that we would have an idea of what that savings could be, because I think we were kind of in the dark on that.
We getting that right after we get the audit?
It's possible. They're coming at the same time.
I'll request both. So
Do you think the veterans, I noticed the veterans was down by like $5,000. Do you think he'll be able to get some money out of the CARES Act in that phase 4?
yeah, so the word we had received from the veterans agent was that they're not taking advantage of the programs that are available. So that increase is based on I think the full usage, but he said that the actual usage of the programs was down.
I know under the Plymouth County that in phase or phase 4, as they call it, and check 4 is specifically for veterans, in care of soldiers' graves and things. So I think they can apply for some of that money through Plymouth County in that final phase and maybe get back some of that they lost.
Yeah, I know our veterans agent. I've talked to him. He's really good about applying for all the programs that are out there. So I haven't discussed specifically any of the COVID related ones, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's already got some of those proposals written up to take advantage of that money.
Perfect. I think the library can do the same thing. I think it's veterans and libraries are in that final phase 4 of the CARES Act through Plymouth County. So. And
I know the town administrator was working with the other relevant departments, all the departments, as to, effects of COVID-19 on their spending.
So I mean, it's substantial. Phase 1, 2, and 3 goes pretty much to, you get a certain percentage of evaluation through your town, which, the overall wealth of your town and the size of your town. And then 2 and 3 is COVID expenses through public safety. I want to say Pembroke got about $900,000 coming to them. It's money you've already spent. A lot of it's money already spent, but some money can go towards things that maybe got cut that they can be looking toward. I just don't know what Hanson's, put in for. And that's good up until December, I believe, of any expenses that were sent out.
Okay.
Just so that everybody on the committee's aware.
Kevin, one last question in regards to contractuals or things of that nature. Do we have any updates on union bargaining, or is that going to likely be something that's going to have to get dealt with at October?
I believe the last word that was put out with is that is on hold for now. I don't have, that was the last word that I'd received, it was put on hold for now and will be dealt with in the future. Now, what they define as in the future, I don't know because I'm not privy to those discussions, but I know it was put on hold.
So you can't, you can't approve any contractual obligations through CBA under a 112 budget. It's illegal. It has to have an actual budget. So you couldn't, even if they had some that they were willing or ready to pay or sign, they can't anyways until the 112 budget is gone and the town meeting has approved a budget. So that may not be until October.
Okay. Further questions on, any further questions regarding the operating budget?
No.
I will entertain a motion.
What article number is that?
23.
So we have
No.
7. Is that 7?
so what I
Oh, sorry. Yeah. 6.
It'll
Six.
be-
yeah, it's in the warrant. It's Article 6.
6.
So what I'd like to do is make a motion on the general fund fiscal year 2021. Now, whether that's we use the town accountant administrator recommended amounts, something along that line, then we go in and approve the article itself. Just as
So I'll make a motion to recommend the general fund fiscal year 2021 town administrator recommendations as printed.
Second.
And Kevin, to clarify, that's a total budget of 28,681,178.
That is correct. Motion has been made and seconded to accept the town administrator accountant's recommendations for a total operating budget of $28,681,178. We will do a roll call vote. Mr. Dugan,
Aye.
Mr. McCormick,
Aye.
Ms. Werdeman, Ms. Wright,
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan, aye. That will take care of the general fund. That brings us back to the annual town meeting. Warrant article number 6. And I will read that. To determine what sums of money the town will raise and appropriate by taxation, transfers from free cash, transfer from town ambulance funds, water department revenue, water surplus, Title V special revenue fund, MWPAT loan repayment receipts reserved for appropriation, conservation notice of intent fund, overlay surplus, and fund balance reserved for reduction of future excluded debt to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, and to provide for a reserve fund for the 2021 fiscal year or take any other action in relation thereto. And those dollar values are a total amount for Article 6 would be $28,079,154. 425, 427 for raise and appropriate, 653,727 dollars from other sources. I'll entertain a motion on Article 6.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to recommend Article 6. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Dugan?
Aye.
Mr. McCormick?
Aye.
Ms. Werdeman? I'm sorry, Ms. Werdeman? I think you're still muted, Michelle.
My bad. Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan? Aye. The ayes have it. The article is recommended 5-0. And that is the last one we had to recommend. We've completed the annual and special town meeting recommendations. We have a general fund budget that covers agenda items that we have thus far. Any further discussions about the budget process? Where we go from here? Questions, concerns, comments?
Is that town meeting at 6 o'clock?
Let me go. Let me go to the town website here.
Well, this is the 29th, correct?
Yeah.
Mine's on the 28th. It'll be a good week.
All right, let me pull up this. I just want to get the official time. July special and annual town meeting, 6:30 p.m. Wednesday the 29th.
We need to be there extra early to sign in, get temperature checked. We know that.
Yeah, and a reminder to all, it's outside as of right now. So
Oh, good.
there are some logistical issues with that. I will reach out with, I guess, a firm time as to when we all meet. You know, we usually meet a little bit in advance, just in case there's any items. So I'll post earlier than that. But I'll provide some more details because I don't know how that's going to change or evolve as we get closer and closer. I guess it's 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah. So did they adopt, the selectmen, did they adopt the reduction in the quorum?
A quorum of 100 registered voters is required. I believe that was the that's what we have here. 100 voters.
Okay. So they didn't adopt the reduction that you're allowed to do under the governor's order?
I do not believe they did. I can check on that, but I don't.
And it's outside at where?
Whitman Hanson.
I cannot see that happening, to be quite frank. We're in a big, huge fight right now with our Board of Health on outside. Kingston's in a big, huge fight with their Board of Health on outside, and you just Triple E and Lime and stuff is on the rise, and I can't.
Those were the. I brought those concerns up to the moderator a few weeks ago that, outside on a stage line is going to cause some issues. Yeah. I think potential issues. They've assured me that they're going to spray, but the other question is it going to rain? Is it going to be too hot for some of our citizens to be outside in a 100% humidity?
Right.
So I don't know where they're going to go, which is why I think we'll have to look at, the logistical issues of it going forward. I've made some of the arguments, but I don't get to decide where it is. So They are aware of the concerns, but I haven't heard any sort of adjustment.
Would the high school auditorium be big enough, considering the number of people that usually show up at town meeting, to kind of socially distance people? Because it's much bigger than Hanson.
So there's some discussion as to if you can fit. You can't fit even a quorum in with the proper amount of social distancing. It wouldn't fit in there. And then there were some concerns about, okay, well then if we did it in the gym doesn't have air conditioning, so we'll be inside, but it will still be warm.
So there's a lot of logistics to go with it. We're doing it right now. I mean, you do have the option, just so that you're aware, under the governor's order, you can take town meeting out of town to a undisclosed location under the guidelines, i.e. the U in Hanover, things like that. We've come up with a system. We're going to use the gym, the auditorium, and cafeteria, all piped in together. So, I mean, there's a lot of logistics that goes to it. So hopefully, we're able to get this underway on the 29th. If you get enough people to raise concerns, they'll have to address it.
All right, and I guess that covers all my agenda items. I had one item to just keep you guys in the loop about. The selectmen, I'm sure you've seen, have called for the forming of a deregionalization feasibility committee.
I saw that.
They have requested that I sit on it, so Selectman Hickey and I will be on it with 3 citizens at large, and we will be looking to gather detailed information about the process for Hanson to potentially withdraw from Whitman Hanson. So I just wanted to keep you up to date on that. Once we get past town meeting, I'm sure that will be in a high gear, and I will start providing updates to the board as they become available.
Is that K through 8 to start, or is that K through 12?
K through 8, I think.
It's non-specific, so it's both. It's both. It's one. It's all. So this is just sort of the data, gathering the data for it.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Have fun with that. He's butter, Nick.
It's a good time. What's his name isn't on it, is it?
The Board of Selectmen are picking 3 citizens at large. They're accepting applications as we speak. I have no idea who will be.
Hopefully you don't get stuck with him.
Any further that's all I have on the agenda. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Well, I need someone to make the motion.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call vote. Mr. Dugan.
Aye.
Mr. McCormick.
All right.
Ms. Werdeman.
Aye.
Ms. Wright.
Aye.
Mr. Sullivan. Aye. Good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Are you talking to me?